So thank you all for coming, and I thank you for your patience while we work through this. I know teaching online can be very difficult, and we just experienced that firsthand. We have three speakers today. We have Kimberly Moe, June Lambert, and Janelle Stolp. So for this event, it's going to be a Q&A session. So just everyone feel free to ask any questions you have for the speakers. I have some prepared as well in case you guys don't have any. But whenever you want to ask a question, just feel free. The microphone's up here, so we'll be able to figure that out once we get a little closer, if that is working. We'll come back here. Okay. So first question I have is I'm gonna ask you guys to just share your name, your current grade level you're teaching, the school you're located at if you're okay to share that, and your current teaching context, whether that be in person, hybrid, or remote. And for all of these questions, I think it might be best if we go in an order. We go Kimberly, then June, and then Janelle. And I can also put the questions in the chat if that's easier for you guys, if it's too much to remember. Okay, so we'll start with Kimberly. Let's see. Oh, she's not here. Then we'll go to June. Question is in the chat as well.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, my voice is hashed by Fridays because of teaching, but I'm June Lambert. I am the LAP Reading Interventionist K-5 for the Meade School District's Meade virtual program. So I have been, this is my 7th year in LAP, and my first year doing it completely full remote. And when I just left Evergreen Elementary, and then we'll be at Farwell Elementary next year. So I'm making a new change. So currently I feel like I'm a little homeless because I'm not at Evergreen or in Farwell. But yeah, I'm 100% all day long on remote. So I think that's what you wanted from me.
Yes.
My name, my grade level, and where I'm at. Yeah, so.
All right, Janelle.
And I am Janelle Stolp, and I teach in the Central Valley School District. I'm in 1st grade, have been there for bazillion years. Okay, really not that long, but a really long time. And I love 1st grade because we get to teach them all the beginning reading and writing kinds of things and math. And we have been lucky enough, because we're 1st grade, to be in person since about October 15th. I can't remember what the exact date was, but about the middle of October. So yeah, we're here 6 feet apart.
Yep, thank you. The next question I had, let's see. What are some of your current challenges you're currently facing when considering your teaching context? It's online or hybrid.
A lot. Making sure, like what you just experienced, that all the technology works, because that doesn't always happen. It's hard to teach when my kids aren't there. And so that's a common problem. And not just with me, like in the LAP world, but just our grade level teachers as well. Also, I have 8 paraeducators that support me. Not all 8 wanted to be virtual, but due to their age and health. So trying to support them. I can tell you that all 8 were not tech savvy. So trying to get them to be tech savvy. Finding online curriculum. A lot of your curriculum comes in packets. So I spend hours and hours and hours every day turning a worksheet into a Google form, uploading it into Google Classroom, downloading things. So it's converting a lot. So that's a challenge in itself. When I teach virtually, I am in someone's home. So the challenges of sitting in someone's living room. So we hear all sorts of things in the background. the kiddos might have the headset on so they can hear me, but it doesn't block all the noise around them. So I'm hearing babies screaming. We had an incident yesterday of a mom and a dad fighting, the dog barking, all of that. We often teach kiddos in the car. So then they don't have their worksheet or their book, or they're on mom's phone so they can't split screen. And so that's been a challenge as well. Just the other day, we had a kiddo in the parking lot of the arena because he was with his grandparents getting their shot. So, yay, you were there, but you really couldn't do anything because you were on the cell phone. And of course, he didn't bring anything with him. So all of those things that are really out of my control. I think that's kind of the biggest things is, the converting everything that takes hours to retype it all, making sure we have the technology, and you never know what's going to happen when you are in someone else's home. I often have a kiddo that shows up literally in his underwear, and we have to tell him to go get dressed every day. So yeah, that never happens in face-to-face school. I've never had to tell a kid to go get dressed. In like 25 years of teaching, never have had to tell a kid to go get dressed.
Yeah.
So.
Do you guys have any questions for June?
Well, okay, so if I understand right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. How does that work with like mom and dad fighting in the background? What's you guys' responsibility through Zoom?
So when mom and dad are in the background fighting and yelling like what happened yesterday, what we did is we documented it because we never saw a fight. We never saw, any pushing or shoving. There were no threats made. It was a lot of, God damn it, blah, 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 that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so we just documented it. We shared our documentation with our principal, and we also shared it with the classroom teacher. Mm-hmm. So one time we heard a big, huge commotion, and then we found out that the whole time the sibling was on with us. Big brother was in the background because it was his hybrid day, and he was playing some video game and had it on really loud, and we just heard all the fighting on the video game.
Oh.
Yeah. So you quite never know what you're going to hear. But yeah, we just document, because we can't report anything to the state unless we physically see an altercation or heard a direct threat, which and the 2 times we've had to document, we've never heard anything like that. It's just a lot of screaming and yelling.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about you're in someone's home and how open mics are just such a big thing.
Well, it was really weird because at conferences, that's usually the time where you bond with your family and you sit. And I'm one that I own my kids. I share my kids with everybody else. I go to every conference. I normally have about 120 kids on my roster, so I go to all of the conferences. I went to a total of 6 this year, which was very weird for me. And it's because I talk to the parents all the time. The parents sit right next to the kid. You get the lean over, what page are we on? And assessments. Oh, that's another big problem in the virtual world. Assessments. It's not valid data. Not valid data. I have a kindergartner who does not know a single letter sound, but yet the assessment shows that they're at a 3rd grade level. So what happened? I think mom and dad took the test for them.
Yeah, I bet that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's a problem too. So, I talk to parents all the time because I'm in their living room with them.
Mm-hmm.
No?
Yeah, that's kind of strange.
It is a little weird. I'm not totally comfortable with that part. There are some houses I don't want to be in. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting there kind of going, oh my gosh, you need a cleaning lady. And then there's those that I love having the parents right there, because if it wasn't for the parent, my job would be harder because, here's another one, behaviors. In a school, hey, I need you to get this done. Oh, you're going to have to sit with me. You're in close proximity. I can walk around. I can tap on the table. I can pull you to the back room to do something. If I say, oh, Landon, I really need your eyes on me. Nope, Landon, right here, Landon. Click, Landon's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There is no consequence for Landon's behavior. So all I have to do is try to think of all the can't give you something. I can't give you a sticker. I can't give you a piece of candy. I can't give you extra reset. I can't give you anything. I can't take anything away. You have the control because you can leave my Zoom meeting whenever you want. You can hide the one thing you can't do is you can't mute me.
Oh.
I can mute you. I can hide you. You can hide yourself, but you can't mute me. So I worked for a whole month with the kindergartner who hid under the table. And I just kept telling mom, nope, just keep me on. You can't mute me. And I literally talked to a blank screen for a month. This is the letter A. Ah, it's like apple. I just talked to myself, literally. My husband thought I was crazy because there was nobody for me to talk to because he was under the table.
Yeah.
So behavior is a challenge, but,
Mhm.
but yeah, see? So.
All right. Janelle, do you have anything to add? Or Sarah, did you have a question?
I was gonna ask real quick, are your videos required to be on to see your students? Because I know that's what
So what I say, when you come into my space, for me to take my attendance, I got to make sure that the person is there. Once I've marked you off, I don't mind that you ask me respectfully to turn the camera off. Now, there's a few cases where the parent and I have decided that it is not an option and the camera must stay on because the kid was like not even there. And the deal with me is, okay, you have to have your camera on for me to take roll so I know that you're there. And then if I ask you a question, you have 5 seconds to respond. If I have to say, oh, warning 2, after that, it's 3 seconds to respond. After that, I remove you to the weight room and I email your teacher. And so, because I only get them for 30-minute chunks, and if you are not going to respond and you're wasting everybody's learning, that's a detrimental to other kids. So I have to really put my thumb on it. So, and I really get the support from teachers on that part. And the kids that I'm having troubles with are the same kids they're having troubles with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's when admin gets involved. So, but yeah, I don't require it. Like I have one little girl who, my 5th grader, so I wait till everybody else is in their breakout room with my paras, and then I'll say, okay, flash it really quick. And she does, and I'm like, whoa, you're here today. And then I let her go. And so, and we just have that, oh, you're here. I got to make sure you're not a robot. And she keeps saying, I'm not a robot. And I'm like, yeah, I got to prove it. You just saying it. It's not a proof. I need to actually see your human face. And so I wait for everybody to leave, and then she does it. So, but yeah.
Thank you. And Janelle, the same question. What are the biggest challenges that you're facing?
That is a really big question, Landon. We have been lucky to be in class, so that is totally different than what June deals with. We do have some of the same challenges, but because we have kids here, we don't have the same challenges. We have different things. The one thing that is the same is technology. We are using a lot of online curriculum this year because we started online. Everybody started at home. What do you call it? Distance. We all started with distance learning. So we started with online curriculum platforms, and therefore we are required to and asked to continue them throughout the year. So our math program's online. Our reading, we have online pieces, but we still get to teach reading in our classroom, and writing. So our ELA curriculum, I can use pieces that are online, but I don't have to teach kids online. We do have one online program that we started out using as the reading program, but now that we're in the classroom, we're able to use that as a supplement. So we do have technology issues at times. All kids have Chromebooks and cords, and one of our biggest issues, especially in 1st grade, is they will come to school without their Chromebook plugged in or charged and ready to go. I mean, it's not, we don't have enough plugs in here and or they leave their cords at home and so they're not ready to go. So that's one of our issues with technology. Then another issue is that kids want to be kids. And because of COVID, we have some restrictions. We have to wear a mask. We have to stay 6 feet apart. We essentially can't help each other. One of my modes of teaching is that as soon as I teach somebody, as soon as I find an expert, they're the expert. So if you need help, I will send a kid over to that other kid to help them. You know, we do a lot of peer work. We also do a lot of work with older students. I have kids that need more work on sight words, more work on reading fluency, and I have a lot of peer work with other classrooms. And all of those kinds of things have not been available to us this year. So that's another piece. When I said kids want to be kids, the other day somebody dropped their pencil box and it splattered all over the floor. 3 kids were just right on the floor to help them. They were right over there. And it's one of those things that I say, thank you so much for being so helpful. We want you to help, but they need to touch their own things. Hand sanitizer is our best friend, so we use a lot of that, and that's a new thing. As far as that, when I said kids want to be kids, also the masks. I am totally amazed at the compliance, that's not the best word, at how great they are at wearing their masks. I only have 2 in my classroom that I have to constantly remind. Everybody else is really good at it. And that surprised me because I thought that was going to be a real headache, and it's not. So that's a good thing. But right now it's part of everybody's life. You go to the grocery store, you go anywhere, you wear a mask. So, but I thought kids would struggle with that, and they haven't. So that's a good thing. Another challenge that we have is if we have any kids with COVID-related symptoms, then they have to miss school. And so again, it's one of those protocol things. I've had one student miss school twice for 14 days because he's had runny nose, sore throat, blah, blah, blah. And mom has chosen not to get a COVID test. If he gets a COVID test and it's negative, then he can come back in, I think, 24 hours or 48 hours. But if you don't want to do that particular issue or take care of that particular issue, then you have to stay out for 14 days to make sure you're okay. And he's missed a lot of school. And another kiddo was exposed. His family was exposed. He never had COVID, but he had to miss the 10 days. I think he had to. I don't know. The numbers are flexible. It's 14 for some things and 10 for another, but it's 2 weeks of learning for sure. So that's been a challenge because we keep moving each day, and when kids are gone for that long, it's tough. What else did I write down here? The other challenge that I am finding, and I know this is March, and maybe that's when I'm really starting to notice it, but in first grade, kids are ready to do these kinds of things in this time in the year, and this class is not ready for that. So they have truly missed a chunk of learning, and it's going to take a while for them to catch up. And you know, there's no blame, it just is the way it is. And I realized that for one, this particular class, writing is a struggle for, and my teaching partners had the same thing this year. Whereas in years past, by March, I have writers and they write volumes and they know how to spell and move on, and all of those skills that we have taught them all these years, they're ready to do that. And I have writers this year that are so they're struggling because they know they can't, and they don't have the skills yet. Not that they can't, but they don't have the skills yet, and so they are resistant to writing because they're not where first graders usually are in March. So there's a little bit of lapse in learning, and that's just the way it is. and we will keep moving forward. One more note I wrote down here. The other issue that we have, that's a challenge that's not necessarily due to COVID, but I'm noticing that kids moving in and out and changing programs. I have had 2 kids that chose to be online until just recently, and then now mom and dad, for whatever reason, I don't know the reason, so I'm not going to guess, but mom and dad have chosen to enroll them in school. And so for all my other kids, we've been here since October 15th, and now they join us about March 1st. And that's a challenge because they have been online for a while. I have one little person that is resistant because he hasn't had to do these things that we're asking him to do in the classroom. And so they've just missed a little bit of classroom learning. He still had online learning, but it does look differently. I think that's what, I might think of some other things, but those are the major challenges that I have seen recently.
I have a question for you, Janelle. When like the pandemic came in March, what happened to your school? Were all the kids sent home? Is that why they're so behind?
Yes, we rumor, and I am not kidding, it was internet rumor that we were going to shut down, and it was supposedly going to be the Monday would have been about the 14th, maybe about 14th.
March 16th.
16th. Okay, Monday was the 16th because we shut down on Friday, and wasn't it a snow day too? I'm trying to remember if it was a snow day. All I remember, it was a hurry up, we got to go. And they never came back. It was not a great ending to the year at all. And I just kept saying, okay, on Monday we'll be able to wrap things up and make sure we have closure and tell each other how much we've enjoyed being together this year and all that, all those important things that you do that last week of school. I was saving for Monday because it was, the internet was saying life was going to end and we're going to close down, and our district said we're waiting till Monday, we're going to come to school on Monday, and then we didn't get to come. So it was heartbreaking for me, and I'm sure the kids too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it was, yeah.
Yeah. They did like the online piece because we did have online last spring. We had Zoom meetings and lessons and things, so that we did get to see each other, but it really felt it was a real uneasy kind of feeling because it was all new. We had no idea what we were getting into.
I have a question. I'm hidden. I don't know if you can see me. That's my hand.
Oh, hello.
I'm in an observation in a 6th grade, and so they're in person at Central Valley School District. And so we've been having a lot of like behavior problems with kids who are like, we didn't have to do this online, why do I have to do this in person now? And I'm wondering if you're having those same behavior issues, and what are some things that you do to like mediate those, I guess?
That is an excellent question. And yes, and I'm seeing it as 1st graders, they're resistant. I don't want to do that. I can't do that. I won't do that. And I have not had that in my classroom ever. I mean, you have a kid or two, but it is apparent that they have missed something, or they haven't had to do something. They don't have drive. They don't have work ethic. They don't have, I will try. And in fact, today, even in art, we were doing an art cut and paste kind of thing today with a pot of gold and rainbows. And so it doesn't, there was no right way to do it. And one of my kids said, how did he put it? I don't know how to do this. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to do this. And so I'm working on, I will try. And that hasn't happened before. So I can see where in 6th grade, they say, well, we didn't have to do this online. Why do we have to do it now? 1st graders don't say that. They say, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. And I'm getting the I won'ts, and that hasn't happened before. they're usually willing to try anything because they love life.
Mhm.
So yes, it can be a behavior problem. And so we're really working on giving them the tools and to help change the attitude, because I think it's an attitude self-esteem piece. We also this year we have worked really hard every single day on SEL learning, social emotional learning, and we have a piece that we do every morning, and 2 or 3 times a week we have a whole lesson on it. And that is part of our curriculum every year, but not nearly to the extent that we're working on it this year.
Okay, so the next question that we have here, let's see. What is something that you miss from normal pre-pandemic teaching? If you could choose like one thing, what do you miss the most?
Being with kids. I miss, crouching down next to them and celebrating the successes and letting them cry on my shoulder when there's a problem, and just those connections. I have not been near a kid other than my own children, who are 32 and 27, since the 17th of March, and that's hard. I mean, I miss the collaboration time in the virtual world, because we're considered a program and not a school. We do not offer library music or PE for our kids. And so our kids aren't getting that. They get an extra long lunch period so we can cover teachers' prep time and everything. So I miss that collaboration time. I miss the time to, like, we do skill grouping, we have data meetings, all of that's gone right now, all of that. So, and like Janelle was saying, the kids are not in the same spots of where they were at this time before. And yeah, it's true. They're really far behind. And my son's a high school math teacher, and we talk about this all the time of where they're not at compared to where they should be at. So, but yeah, I miss that, all of that being in the building stuff. And so,
is your school set to go back in person anytime soon?
So Meade has been back. Meade has started the year off in person. But we offered a choice for parents. So at the elementary level, you had a choice. You could either be in person or you could be virtual. Those were your 2 choices at elementary. In junior high and high school, they had a choice. They could be what's called Edgenuity, which is 100% online learning, self-paced. You do everything. It's like doing those I don't even know the Washington online school type thing, but it's like doing that. Or you could go hybrid, where they have team A that goes Monday, Wednesday, and team B that goes Tuesday, Thursday, and then everybody in Zoom on Friday. Or you could be all virtual. So there's choices. When they first put this choice out for our families, it was going to be every school had their own virtual teachers and face-to-face teachers. But what they soon realized was there were more virtuals. We started the year off with 998 kids in the virtual program. That's a few kids. So hold on, someone's at my door. So we have that. Well, here's another teacher who's in face-to-face if you guys want some face-to-face questions. So our district has those choices. And with that said, the initial start out was people in your own house or in your own school would be managed by the principal, but because they had such an overwhelming number, that went to the wayside. So now we have one principal that oversees the whole virtual program. And so we have 7 teachers at every grade level filled. And so no library, no music, no PE. We have 3 special ed teachers and 3 lap teachers. And that's what we do to support our kids. And so that has been really interesting because you are basically combining all 10 elementary schools into one big cluster. So you're in classes, like one teacher has kids from 6 different elementary schools. So you're coordinating with 6 different buildings. It's supposed to be that the social workers from your home school are who you work with. So when you go back face to face next year, you work. So that's one teacher working with 7 or 6 different social workers, one teacher working, trying to coordinate. So we gave the parents the choice that they had to stay in the same mode for the whole year or for the whole first semester. And that semester they could make changes. So Janelle talked about that being a problem, huge problem. We lost 80 something kids, but then gained another 40 something kids. So it just went topsy-turvy. It was like starting school ball back over again. And so that was a problem. It's just all these logistical nightmares because of all of that. And so our district has been face-to-face since the get-go. We have had face-to-face. So like the teacher I just walked past, she teaches 5th grade in an elementary school. They have kids 5 days a week face-to-face. My son who teaches at Meade High School, he has team A Monday, Wednesdays, team B Tuesday, Thursdays, and then everybody is virtual on Fridays. So we have all these different options. So I am committing to being, due to health reasons, I am virtual. So I have to commit for the whole year to teach virtual. So I miss the interaction. I miss all of that piece. So
And
I don't know if there's any questions for that. So
And I am lucky to be in the classroom. I am thankful that my kids get to be here. It's absolutely wonderful. What I miss is that we have rules and regulations that make it difficult for me to what I feel is best practice. Small groups, I have a rolling desk chair and I have a cart and I roll over and I have to have kids reading groups sitting together. And so I roll as close as I can in the middle of the team of 2 or 3. I do have one group of 4 that's really tough to teach 4 at a time because I'm not, it's tough for them to see my whiteboard. It's tough for us to be close enough. So I miss the closeness too, just like June said, even though she's distanced with technology, I'm distanced in the classroom. And Landon knows, my favorite thing about teaching is reading to kids. And that is my biggest, saddest moment is that I don't get to read to kids. Now, I really do get to read to them, but they don't get to be up close and I don't get to sit in a rocking chair where they're all really snuggled in and next to each other. I have to do it with the overhead because the person in the back of the room can't see and my overhead's facing this way and my classroom's facing this way, or I have to use, or I walk around. I've tried that too. And so I miss the closeness and teaching in small groups. I think we're doing it, but it's not easy and it's a challenge. And then the other thing I miss is kids helping each other. And we're trying really, when you do a read aloud and you do a turn and talk, well, it's hard to talk when they're not close together. And it's hard to talk when everybody's talking at the same time far apart because their voices are louder. And so it's the little things. And then I also I really feel like the creativity this year is limited because we are required to do so much online or teaching, that we're not online. What's my word? Virtual, not virtual, computer programs. I lost my word. It's after 4 o'clock, sorry. But you know what I mean? I feel like we have so many ties this year that the teacher creativity is not as much of an option. I feel like I have less creativity and less input this year than I usually do. I usually can say, oh, I know what the target is and I can get there. And I can use some curriculum, or I can do this and I can do that, and I can be creative, and we're going to try this and that. And it's just more challenging this year. But I'm still working at trying to make things fun for kids, because being on the computer all day is not fun and not learner appropriate. And so we aren't on our Chromebooks all day. So was that the right answer for the question? What I missed
Yes.
was being close, being real, like the classroom is, running the classroom like it should supposed to be run. Yeah.
Any questions for June or Janelle?
No, but what Janelle said about the reading circle, like that's one of the things I remember from like first grade, kindergarten, like sitting down in a circle on that the red rug with the letters around it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking of when you were talking about that.
And also, my daughter is a 5th grade teacher, and she reads aloud, reads a story, reads aloud every single day. And she said that's her biggest, and she's only a 2nd year teacher, but that's her biggest sadness this year, is that she has to read with all of her big people at their desks. And she doesn't usually do that. She has a chair, not a rocking chair, but she has a chair, and they all come gather at the gathering place and do lessons and teaching. And so I just want to share that it's not just 1st grade that has those little circles. There are a lot of teachers that teach that way and like kids to be close. And yeah, and I'm glad that's one of your memories, because that meant something to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your classroom, are the students sitting in the same area the entire day?
Yes. We have desks, which is not my style. I haven't had desks for 20 years. We all have a desk now, and they're all in rows facing forward. They've been marked 6 feet apart, which is funny because if you have a kiddo that keeps moving his desk forward, they get a little close. But yeah, and we are in and out of our desk all day, Landon. We are constantly doing brain breaks. And I did put brain breaks into my day in previous years, but not nearly as many. I mean, if we've been sitting for half an hour, 45 minutes in our desk, then we get up and everybody gets up and we do a brain break. And YouTube is fabulous for that. As far as reading or math goes, though, I do have rules. You have to be to the right of your desk, but you're welcome to bunch up your coat and try to make yourself comfy when you're reading or when you're doing math. I don't require that they sit in their desk to do all their work. And but they all have to be on the right side, because if you're on the right and I'm on the left, then we're pretty close. So we do have some rules like that, but I do let my kids make some choices to not sit in a chair all day. That's just, I don't sit in a chair all day. I don't know how they can do it. So thanks for that question. That's a good one.
And I have the same question for you, June. How do you keep your students physically active, especially because since you're teaching completely online, what are some things that you do for them?
So I try really hard to make sure we're moving. We do a lot of, I find a lot of YouTube videos that tie into what we're doing, especially with my K1-2. So we're dancing, we're moving. We'll do things where up and down, touching our shoulders. I have these little whiteboard paddles that we're working on our sight words. When I show you I want you to touch your nose as fast as you can. So we're doing that. But they also have an extended lunch and recess, so they can go out, because we don't have PE or music or library, so they can go out and move around and do some of that. So a lot of our teachers are not on all day. Like I said, my groups are in half-hour chunks, but a lot of them, they will be on, but then it's independent work time from this time to this time, get back on. So it chunks the day up a little bit. So that. I have a wiggle stool, a hokey stool that I sit on. So I wiggle because I'm not used to sitting like this. I walk around, and I don't do that right now. I sit for all day long. So I need to be moving myself. So.
Are there any specific like programs or tools that you use to get your kids active? I know Janelle mentioned Brain Breaks, YouTube. Can you find them anywhere else?
Well, you could. I only have my kids for, well, by the time they all get on and by the time we let them off so they can get back to class and I can get my next group, I probably only have my students for 20 minutes because takes that 5 minutes to get them all into their breakout rooms, the 5 minutes to close down and get them back to their class. So we try to do as much learning in that 5-minute time. So I don't do a whole lot of break time in there just because I only have my kids for that amount of time, which truly is not enough. So I mean, there's all sorts of things. You've got Go Noodle and all that you can do as your brain breaks. But when I only have them for 20 minutes, that's all I get. So
Right, and you need the instruction time for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And when we were online for the month of September, we did the same thing that June was saying. We would work for 15, 20 minutes, and then I'd put on a Go Noodle, or there's tons of brain breaks on YouTube that are kid appropriate. And I could name all the ones that the kids love. And we are doing that in our classroom too. It's, between subject periods or subject times, we all get up and dance and move and stretch and do all of that. And so the internet has, I don't know if there's more on other places, but YouTube is where we find them. And it's amazing what's out there right now. And some of the good old fashioned stuff too, like the Itsy Bitsy Spider, you could even find that kind of stuff too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything to add?
I don't think so, not for this.
Okay. The next question I have is, what is something that you have come to enjoy about your current teaching context?
What have I enjoyed about my current teaching context? I would say, I think the one thing that I can finally probably say out of all the virtual teaching that I have enjoyed about what it is I teach is it's forcing me to have to learn something new, where normally I would have just done my normal thing, but I've had to learn Google Classroom and how to do all this stuff. So it's forced me to do that. I also have the opportunity to work with new people because I have 8 new para eds. And I get to talk to my families more. So I'm on a different level with my families than I've ever been before. Because a lot of times I don't see my families ever. And so now I'm like teach in their living room. So I see them all the time. So that's probably the 3 things. Because in our district, the virtual program was initially a 1-year thing. Our district did not purchase any kind of curriculum for us to use at all. So everything has had to be created or purchased on our own. And so I haven't really found anything, because I was not going to invest a ton of money into something that I was only going to use for a short amount of time. So I haven't really found anything that's been great that way. But just having to learn how to think outside the box has been fun for me to do. So.
What about for you, Janelle?
I think that the most fun is being with kids, which we are in the regular setting, but being with kids and working really hard. I think harder than I've ever had to work to build those relationships and to build that, I'm working with those 2 or 3 kids I told you that keep saying, I can't, I won't. And every night I go home thinking, okay, what else can I do? What's going to be the right thing for this kiddo? I really think that it's always been important to me to build relationships, but in this setting, and I want them to build relationships with each other, because they can't work closely. I mean, we still do turn and talk. We still, play games across 6 feet, but because they can't be close, I still want that camaraderie, that friendship happening in my classroom. And I think that it's been really tough this year to do it, but I think that we've been able to do it in a lot of ways. And also the brain breaks that we do let us be goofier than we've had before. I mean, I do yoga in here. I love, this is just really silly, but I love to wear a skirt, but I have not worn a skirt since the first day of school because I am yogiing and jumping jacks and burpees, and we just move in here and be goofy so that we can build movement and that camaraderie. And so I think that's been kind of fun this year. It's a new twist.
That's my thing.
No, I just thought of something though. When you have a student who says, I'm thirsty, do they all have their own water bottle? Drinking fountains? How does that work?
The drinking fountain has a rubber cap on it. So yes, they all have their own water bottle, and we can't use the closet this year. So we went and bought baskets from the dollar store, and the basket sits by your desk, and it has your coat and your lunch pail and whatever else you have there. And the water bottles need to be filled at home, but I have 2 or 3 or 4 kids that don't have a water bottle every day, and they're thirsty and they want water. And I've tried to be the tough teacher that says, well, I'm sorry that because somebody said today, my mom forgot to fill my water bottle. I said, guess what? It's not your mom's water bottle. It's your job. But I have Dixie cups in the cupboard, and I will give them a cup of water. But I have rules. We do water at brain breaks, lunch. We have a soft start this year, and that's another thing that I've loved. Kids can come to school between 9:30 and 10, and usually we start right at 9 o'clock, but we have a soft start. So the bus comes about 9:35, 9:40. So those kids come then. I have a couple kids that come right at 9:30 whose parents drop them off. But I also have another kiddo who shows up about 2 minutes to 10 or 2 minutes after 10 every day. So it's hard to start your day on time, but I've liked that I get to walk around, good morning, how are you? And we always have a task to do, and we chat with each other, and I've really enjoyed that. So that's another water time. That's why I brought that up. And then we go out to recess, and they can certainly have water after recess. So that has been a challenge, but I think most of the time it's been easy to work out. But there's a few things that first graders had to be responsible for that they haven't had to be responsible for in the past. And water bottle, Chromebook charge, Chromebook at school, which they've been really pretty good about. But they always say, well, my mom, my dad. I always say, nope, your mom and dad aren't in first grade. You have to be responsible for this. So that's a great question.
Thank you.
So are the students allowed to get up and walk around the classroom, Janelle? Or like if they need to sharpen a pencil or something, do you have to do it for them?
Yes, Landon. There are rules that they're not supposed to have much movement in the classroom. And I've been really good about that till spring, and things are starting to loosen up a little bit. So I call a row at a time, and I only have 3 or 4 kids in a row, and they can't come all at once, but I call row 1. The first person comes over, puts his pencil in the pencil sharpener, and then goes and sits down. Row 1, number 2 comes. So there is some movement in the classroom, but they're not all supposed to gather at the pencil sharpener at the same time, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And books, that's another challenge. Oh, I didn't think about this. My kids are book shoppers. I teach them how to find their own books and fill their own book bags, and find books that are appropriate, and all of that whole arena of choosing your own reading. And this year, they're not supposed to do that. So we have worked it out. So they still do that because I know what books they like and that kind of thing. And they make 2 piles on Friday. The keep pile goes back in their book bag. The I want to trade pile goes on their desk. And I put them back either Friday night or Monday morning, depending on when I have time. And then on Monday, I call one person at a time. What book do you want? And he gets to go, and I thumb through them and I pull them out, but he gets to put them in his book bag and go back to his desk. Today, and this is getting to the end of the year, today was awesome. At the end of the day when we were doing our book sorting, I want that book, and can I have Anthony's book, and I want can I have a Piggy and Frog book and elephant book. And so we're starting to learn how to write a sticky note that says what you want, and so we're making do with trying to get there. But that's all personal buy-in. That's been a challenge this year. But over the weekend, if things are not touched over the weekend, then by Monday morning it's still not 72 hours, but it's close, or 48 hours or whatever. It's close enough that that we're good. But we also have a sanitation station as they come in the school. So first thing in the morning, they all have their temperature taken outside and recorded, and then they stop at the sanitation station, sanitize their hands, come in. We all have bottles and bottles and bottles of hand sanitizer sitting around that kids are supposed to use, and they're good about using. And then when they go out to recess, they can take their masks off. They play out recess, but when they come back in from recess, they all sanitize. So I feel like if we keep the sanitation up as much as we can, then we can do some of those things, not in the same way that we used to do, but I still want kids to have book choice.
I'm glad that you're still making it work for them, even though it's so difficult. You're still taking the time
Yeah.
to have them book shop and explore and choose what book they want, other than you just assigning them a book. That would not be as fun at all.
That reminds me of high school when you all had to read the same chapter book. It's like, what?
It's not as fun, that's for sure. So you guys have anything else? Okay, then my last question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to a first-year teacher? Either that being in a pandemic or just in general. And I put in the chat as well.
I would just say have grace for yourself. It's not going to be easy. You're going to get frustrated. There are not going to be the resources that you want. If you're in virtual, collaboration is a lot different. So just have grace for yourself and be patient. The rules just are not applying this year. The state has put changes on the attendance rules. So things just look different. And so just have patience and grace for yourself.
Thank you.
Am I muted? No, there we go. I say June is right. Take the time that you need to do your job, but take care of yourself. And then the other piece of advice that I have that is for virtual or not virtual is collaborate. Find a team. That is the best part of teaching, is when you share your teaching and learning with a partner or there's four of us, so that we're a strong team, because it makes it so much more fun and so much more powerful. If I have an idea, I run across the hall and say, what do you think about this? And I run down the hall and say, what do you think about this? And we plan together, we work together. And so find a partner or a team, even if it's not in your school, which I think it should be. But I mean, even if you're find differences with the people you work with that are on your grade level, find somebody that you can collaborate with, because that makes it so much better. And you can share your excitements, you can share your concerns, you can share everything. And even if it's your college buddies, even if it's you 3 or 4, find a team. It's really makes teaching even more fun.
And that's the hard part in virtual. It's really hard to find that team in virtual because you are so disconnected. So yeah, I miss that part because I had a great team to work with, and I have my paras.
Yeah.
But it's different. So.
And when you can't be together, it's really different, because we had a solid team before we left in March, So from March to June, we were on Zoom together before and after school and at lunch trying to figure things out because I already had a team. And yeah, June, I think I feel for you because being isolated is not fun.
And when you're an interventionist, you work with so many grade levels. And when there are 42 teachers to work with, that's too many to team with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Thank you guys so much. Do we have any other final questions about anything? Okay. Well, I just want to take the time to thank you both for being here today. We're so grateful to have you and to get your advice. Thank you so much. I also have something else to share with everyone else. We have upcoming School of Education events. We have Y Teach, which is very similar to this event, but it will be with, I think, students who are student teaching. Are you going to be one of them, Kaylee? That's awesome. So yeah, so student teachers will be here. We also have a book club. I believe the books are provided for you if you talk to Becky Pryor. And these are the dates and times of those. And let's see. For the Teachers of Tomorrow Club, we have 2 movie nights coming up. One of them is featuring Crip Camp. And I believe on our Instagram, we have a link to the trailer of that. And we're also showing 2E, Twice Exceptional, and that one's also going to have a discussion with Professor here. I forget her name, but she's coming to discuss more, and she also knows a lot about Temple Grandin and has some connections with her, so she'll be discussing that as well. If you are not following us on Snapchat, Instagram, or YouTube, we have all of this, and we've been posting the majority of our events on our YouTube channel. We're trying to, so because people have classes or they just can't make it for some reason, so we try to do that as well. So if you ever miss an event, you can always go there and look at that. Once again, thank you all for being here so much, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.